Hey everyone, Donna Stamper here with Revolved Realty, and
I'm Amber Cole.
And we're here to talk to homeowners, especially first-time home buyers, who may or may not know all of the things that are involved with spring home maintenance. If you have never owned a home before, and we were just having this conversation, you have no idea of all the little intricacies that are involved, from the bulb that's over the stove to what else, how to trim your trees if you don't want to pay somebody to do your landscaping,
Air ducts, air filters, anything you can think of. Anything.
It's insane. So hopefully what we give to you today will help better prepare you for the spring season, pollen season if you're new to the area. So here we go. We'll start with the outside. Very first thing you want to do is look at your roof, and if you've bought the house recently, this should have already been taken care of. But you should have no leaves in your gutters. Hopefully your home is completely free and clear of leaves in the gutter. It can cause all sorts of problems with your roof, flooding. It can, you can imagine it's basically gunk that is clogging up your gutters.
It can even rot the wood.
It can rot the wood because it's just sitting there. It also encourages birds to build nests nearby. So you definitely want to make sure, if you are afraid of heights, please hire somebody to do this for you. I am not a heights person. My husband takes care of all of that. But where there's a will, there's a way. So if you need any referrals, let me know. I know a few good men.
You can even get them covered.
Yeah, you can. There are companies that do that. I can't think of is it leaf gutter guards? Or...
There's a couple of them. My mom actually had them done. And they just put it, they put a mesh.
Yeah, it's like a mesh screen that goes over the top.
Everything blows right off.
That it is a definite good investment if you don't want to have to do the annual maintenance, and sometimes more than several times a year, depending on how many trees surround your property. So make sure you do that. Make sure that your downspouts are clean. This is another thing that requires you to kind of get on the roof. Run a water hose down through the downspout and make sure that it comes out on the other end. You want to walk around the foundation of your home, check to see if you see any small critters that are walking around, any holes in the yard. Pest mitigation is huge. If you don't have a pest control contract, I would encourage you. Yeah, especially here.
Especially here.
There are some very friendly insects in Madison County.
Termites.
Termites are huge.
Termites are a huge problem here. Also, we have black widows. So check your garage. Make sure that everything's up off the floor. Make sure that's all cleaned out, because they will crawl in there and they will live.
It's not a myth. Yeah, and bushes too. They actually prefer bushes down at the base, and you can see them. They have little spindly webs or haphazard webs. Chances are you've got some widows nearby.
Yes.
So you can do that yourself. There are insecticides that are pretty cheap that you can get from some of the big box stores. Or again, if you don't want to do that, contact a professional and let them come and take care of them for you. So most HVAC companies do preventive maintenance contracts. They will come out twice a year to service your unit. Most commonly that is done in the spring and fall. If you don't have a preventive maintenance contract with an HVAC company, please seek that out. It's relatively cheap, and it will save you lots of headache in the long run.
And money.
Making sure that your unit is performing up to par. They come out and check the coils, they check the Freon or whatever other coolant your machine uses, and change out your air filters for you.
Another thing with that, your outside unit, make sure that there's nothing obstructing it. Any leaves or any grass or anything, make sure all that area around it is cleared out.
Yes.
Because anything that blocks it, that's going to cause a huge problem for you.
Definitely don't want that. That's an expensive headache. For those of you who have a sprinkler system, you want to make sure that all of your sprinklers come out as they are scheduled. If your control box is not working, have that serviced as soon as possible. And of course, landscaping. It's time to check your bushes, plant. We're kind of past the freeze mark now, so it would be safe for you to plant things. Do not hold me to that. If we have another freeze, I'm not responsible for killing your Aunt Bessie's irises or prize begonias. I'm not responsible for that. But do things like trim your bushes, put flowers around your mailbox, whatever's clever for you. But now would be the time to do that. So as a new homeowner, it was a treat when I learned what azaleas were.
Yeah.
I didn't know until they bloomed, and I was like, oh, I have azalea bushes, and then I had to read about them. So as a new homeowner, it's a neat thing to experience when you find out all the trees on your property and flowers, and then you get to add to that. It's sort of a work of art.
Yeah, it is.
So
we have mulch in front of my house, and I detest it. So we took it out, and we're going to put rocks in it. You know,
which is awesome,
yeah.
because then rocks eliminate the need to remulch every year or every other year, how often you do that.
So it is an expensive upfront, but it'll last for years and years and years, and we
Mhm.
don't have to replace it every year, because you do have to replace mulch every season.
Yes.
And that can get
Or
expensive.
you're supposed to.
You're supposed to. Yeah.
Some people till it up and just, kind of mix it up to where it looks, but I mean, that goes back to the pest thing.
Right.
If you have rotting mulch, it's going to attract termites and carpenter ants and other things that like to eat rotting wood.
Yes. Yes. And especially if you have wooden posts outside your house, which I do. I have 2 wooden posts outside the front door. Carpenter bees.
Yes.
I had no idea about those. Never seen them before. All of a sudden, there's a bunch of bees and a bunch of holes drilled into them. They do make a spray foam that you can spray in there, and it'll kill them and get rid of them. But just keep your eye out on, any kind of wood that you have laying around, or any kind of decorative wood. Spiders and bees love those.
Yes, they do. Carpenter bees are really bad.
Yeah.
I don't know how everyone else experiences it, but I see them every single year.
Yeah.
They make little boxes. There are several people that create those that you can probably find them on Facebook Marketplace. But it's just a little wooden box. It lures them in to the little hole that's already created there, and then they cannot get back out. So whatever works for you, but again, carpenter bees, termites, ants, all of those are very important to avoid.
Yes, absolutely. So the next thing you're going to want to do once you've, kind of assessed your outside is look at your inside. Clean your air ducts and your filters. Everything, the filters, that's your pollen, your dog hair, your dust, your dander, everything. And the harder it has to work getting through that filter, the more stress it puts on your HVAC. So make sure I change mine pretty much every month. Now, on the package, it'll tell you how often you need to change it, or your manual for your HVAC will tell you how often you need to change it. But definitely, because allergy season is no joke here, y'all. Seriously, it's bad. I have really bad allergies, so
I take medicine for allergies.
I do too.
So, yeah.
I do too, and literally everything's coated in yellow right now. So clean your air bag, clean your ducts out. Make sure the air vent, what are those things called on the roof? The air return.
Yeah.
Make sure to dust those. I dust those every time I dust. Make sure they're open and closed. You can function. Make sure, again, everything functions.
Also your vacuum cleaner.
Yes.
I don't know,
Yes.
if you have bagless or if you use bags, it doesn't matter. It needs to be thoroughly cleaned.
Yes, wash it. I wash my filter every 3rd time I use my vacuum.
We do too.
Wash it. Put it in the dishwasher. Throw it in there on the top. Done. Easy. Wipe out your container, because that's where your allergens and stuff are going to sit. And every time you vacuum, all you're doing is spreading that back around.
Circulates all around.
Just circulating it around.
When you change your filter, I always put the date on mine.
That's smart.
I do it every month or every other month, but then if I have a question, I actually set a reminder on my phone to do it, or my husband does it. But we write the date that we changed it, so there's never any question
That's
about
really
when
smart.
we did it. That comes from a long line of property management history, so it does help.
Yes.
And they're relatively cheap. You can get them in big packages, or you can buy them single. There's HEPA filters. There's all sorts of different kinds. Get the one that works best for you, but make sure and stay on top of it.
Yes, you can also do that with your air handler filters. Just write on, most of them are, boxed out in cardboard. Yep. Just write on there when you changed it, and you can get up there and check it. It's not a difficult thing to do. It takes 10 seconds to pop one out and pop a new one back in.
And it makes your air smell better too in the house, and guaranteed less sneezing.
Easier breathing, everything. Another thing you're going to want to look at is your windows. Check your seals. Check for any cracks, any pulling up of the what is that stuff called? The caulking.
Yeah, the caulking or the weather stripping.
Yeah, the weather stripping. There we go. That's what I was looking for. your AC's running, it's 100 degrees outside, and all you're doing is leaking air right out, and that's going to make your bill go sky high, especially here where it's really, really hot. I don't like AC in the outside, and I don't like $300 bills. Right. So that's one of the things I always do first is check your seals, your doors, your windows, anything that has to do with outside to inside.
One tip with that too is condensation. If you have double pane windows and you see condensation in there, or if you see a spider web or dead beetles or whatever the case may be, your seals are bad, and it's time to either recall, reseal, or maybe get new windows.
Yeah.
So
definitely. Also, bugs can get in. Bugs are more, bugs are waking up and they're coming out of their little slumbers. So now they're looking for ways to get inside.
Oh, look, it looks good in there.
Exactly, and it's cool in there. They're going to want to go where it's not hot. So definitely look for that. Smoke detectors. Huge. Now, most of them will beep and let you know, hey, I'm dying, but some of them don't. You have to check them yourself. Some of the older ones, they don't. So you need to get up there and replace your batteries. And another thing, also write the date on there. Some of them have like a little tab or whatever inside. Just write, hey, this is the time I checked it, and this is when I replaced it. CO2, also big thing. Make sure that you have at least one of those. And I know there's certain standards for how many you need per square feet or whatever, and it'll say on the package what you need. But definitely smoke detectors, CO. Make sure that those are functional, because that is there's a ton of house fires here around here.
So lately. So my husband works for ServPro. That's not a shameless plug, but all that to say that they have fires very frequently that they're called to help, and sometimes they can be avoided, sometimes they can't. The bottom line is you don't want to be on that list just simply because you didn't check the smoke detector, or because I don't know, it's just something that could have been prevented. It's really easy to check too. You don't always have to climb up on the ladder. You can take if it's one that's a battery powered, it has a dot on the outside, a button that you can push with a broom handle, and it will alarm to let you know that it's still still got power. So
definitely. Your attic, check for roof leaks. Like Donna was saying in our last video, your roof should not have any holes, damage, wear, tear. Now, if you just bought your house, you probably had an inspection done, so your roof probably is good. But make sure that you get up there and look, because critters come. We had squirrels in our roof, ate all of the insulation. Had to have the insulation before we put it on the market. We had to put all new insulation in. That's another thing that's going to make your power bill skyrocket if you have no insulation. So make sure you're getting up there and looking for leaks, holes, any kind of.
It's also a fire risk.
It is
to have it open like that, between the vermin that might get in, and the rats here are not small. I don't know if you've seen the rats here, but they go from little tiny field mice to rats.
Chihuahua size. But they'll get in there and they'll chew up your AC handler, any kind of wires that they can get a hold of, your power wires,
stuff you've got stored in the attic,
stuff you've got stored, stuff that can't be replaced, or stuff that's really expensive to replace.
Right.
So make sure that you check your roof. Another thing is faucets. It's been cold. It's been, hopefully you put the little protectors on there. They're really hard to find down here, but make sure that you're taking those precautions during the winter to cover your pipes. So now that it's springtime, you're going to want to check those pipes. Are there any leaks? Are there any, broken pipes? Am I going to have to do any major repairs on my plumbing in my house? Leaks will cause your water bill, again, to skyrocket. We're not about high bills here. We want to keep it as low as possible. So check your faucets for leaks.
It's like that old saying, an ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure. It's 100% better to catch it before it becomes a problem. So.
Absolutely. Another thing to go with the smoke detectors and the CO detectors, your fire extinguishers. I didn't have one. When I lived in apartments my whole life, they were just there. I went 6 months living in my house, didn't even realize.
Like it never even
didn't even occur to me to go and get one. saw a video about a house fire recently and was like, no, we gotta go. So now we have one in every bathroom and on every end of the house. We have one, so that way you can get to it. Doesn't help if they're expired.
Right.
Does not help, because all they're gonna do is just die. Make sure that they are in working order, because you don't want to have to need it and then it's, you know.
And these are not necessarily cheap. Fire extinguishers tend to be a little on the pricey side, but
so
again,
is replacing your house.
An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure.
Exactly.
And you can contact any fire extinguisher company. I think you can also buy them at the big box stores. If I'm
fire
not,
extinguishers? Oh yeah, you can get them at Lowe's, Home Depot.
Probably order them on Amazon or any of that.
Yeah, you can get them anywhere.
But it's definitely worth it. And there are two different kinds. Make sure that you understand that you need to have a different fire extinguisher for electrical type fires versus what you would have in your kitchen for grease fires.
Yes.
There are two different kinds.
Yes. Another big thing with house fires, and speaking of those, I didn't know that you needed to clean out your dryer vent. I bought my first house and went months and didn't even realize that I needed to check my dryer vent. And I bought this really cool thing off Amazon. It's $8, attaches to my vacuum, and it snakes all the way through, and it goes all the way to the outside and clears out all the dust
without you having to take anything off or blow anything out. You could also use the shop vac and pull it the other way, but so much easier.
Depending on what kind of dryer that you have.
Right.
I have just a regular old dryer. It's nothing fancy. I just take the filter out and snake it through there, and then you need to go outside and also check the exit vent.
Yeah, the exit vent, the outside dryer.
The outside vent. Make sure that the flaps are working, because if they're not working, if they're staying closed, then all that's building up and that will catch on fire.
Make sure that you have a flap, because that's also an entry point too for mice or other birds, anything that can crawl up in there.
Yep, and cause that. You don't want that to build up, and that's what causes the fire. Make sure you're cleaning your vents after every single use. When I pull out my laundry, I pull out the vent. Give it a dust off. Make sure you vacuum that off once a week, or once, however often you need to. But I do mine once a week. I soak it, vacuum it, clean it. But it needs to be emptied every single time that you use your dryer.
So one of the things that came up that didn't make the list, but I just thought of it, we actually had a leak from our refrigerator.
Yes.
So we have started doing refrigerator and oven checks, where we pull them out and check behind to make sure that there aren't any weird wires, that maybe something got in the house and we weren't aware of it and chewed the wire. But we have a refrigerator that does water and ice, and it was just leaking away right there in the floor by the baseboards. And, so here we are. We managed to get it before it caused any lasting damage. But the point is, if we were not doing that and being proactive, we would have never known.
And then it would have damaged the floorboards and the trim and
the
then
sheetrock.
All of that would have had to be replaced. That's expensive. So
not to mention your downtime.
Your downtime,
having, your kitchen's all in disarray. So.
Right. So our job is to make sure that you know these things, so you're not blindsided. So you know, hey, I own a home now. So these are the things I need to be doing, because owning a home is a big, big investment, and you don't want to put more money into that investment, having to fix everything all the time.
Not when you can have a simple checklist to do every spring and fall that will save you that headache.
And you can get on Pinterest, or you can get on Google, and they have pre-done checklists. And all you got to do is print it out, stick it on your fridge. Every month, just schedule a time. Schedule a time. Yeah, it's really easy, because do it now and not have to worry about it later.
So if you guys have any tips or things that you do every spring or on a regular basis to maintain your home, leave it in the comments so that other people can benefit from your wisdom. And we would love to hear from you. If you want us to come and walk through your home and kind of do that with you, we can do that too.
Absolutely.
Especially if you're getting it ready to sell, or if you're thinking about selling. My telephone number is 256-808-5274, and I'd love to hear from you or answer any questions that you have about home maintenance.
And my number is 256-919-9786, and I like helping new homeowners, people that don't know. I was there, she was there, we were all first-time home buyers, and if I can help you figure this stuff out, give me a call.
Yeah, we don't want you to have to learn the hard way, like some of the lessons that we did. So that's what we're here for.
Absolutely. All right, well, I think that's about it. I think we covered a good amount. If we missed anything, put it in the comments and let us know. We'll see y'all next time for video 3.
Bye.
Bye.